Kyle Hamilton called out Baltimore Ravens fans in defense of Zach Orr. We talk about what his comments were and so much more coming up on Locked On Ravens.
You are Locked On Ravens, your daily Baltimore Ravens podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into another edition of Locked On Ravens, your daily Baltimore Ravens podcast. I'm your host, Kevin Ostreicher of Ravens Wire. We are here with you on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. We're 5 days a week plus more here of daily Ravens coverage, and I want to thank everybody for tuning in today. All the everydayers, thank you for giving your everyday support. If it's your first time into the channel, welcome in. And if you're somewhere in the middle, welcome back, and thank you for your support as well. Want to also make sure to remind you that we are here even on game days doing instant reactions. We have the live watch-alongs. We have the Locked On Ravens squad show with myself, Sam Njoku, and the man who is with me on the screen today, former Ravens receiver, Super Bowl champion, Qadry Ismail. Q, I know we got a lot of stuff to talk about here as, you know, this Ravens team looking for a big bounce back win in week number 4 against the Chiefs, the 1-2 Chiefs and the 1-2 Ravens, just like how we drew it up at the beginning of the year, right? That's what everybody expected. Two teams fighting for the honor not to go 1-3.
Yeah, I thought it would be the other way. I thought it would be, you're looking at, gosh, who's going to be the first one to 3-0 and then go to 4-0 and be the talk of all the shows on air, and we're talking about it and we're sitting there and saying how great Lamar Jackson and company are. But instead, you're looking at a Patrick Mahomes-led team that has struggled running the football. Defensively, they've played pretty stout and fairly well, but they've had their issues offensively. I think for the Ravens, it's the opposite. You've had times where you have a special teams unit that has looked good, but they're not so good. You've had a defense for 3 games now, because I really don't say that the Browns game was like, oh, wow, man, that defensive performance in that Browns game. Sure, some of the guys, they played extremely well, but you look back on it, you saw some of the little holes that, again, you look at the Lions game and you recognize those holes were big, gaping canyons of just futility. So here we are, week 4, and we're buckling up for this crazy ride of the Kansas City Chiefs and the Baltimore Ravens.
Going to be a wild one at Arrowhead. Also, again, want to remind everyone and say thank you for making Locked On Ravens a part of your day and your first listen each and every single day. Wild one coming up in week 4 for sure, Q. Now, there's a lot of conversation and topics. You know, the defense has been really the main topic of conversation here. You talked about them a little bit there. There's been a lot of conversation about Zach Orr and his scheme and his defense. And is he ready? Is he prepared? Is he the one to be the Ravens defensive coordinator? And Kyle Hamilton on Thursday was asked about the criticism that Zach Orr is receiving and just Zach Orr, the coaching staff in general. And he had some very pointed words for Ravens fans, essentially called out Ravens fans here. And his quote here was, quote, "I feel like sometimes Ravens fans can be a little spoiled. The amount of success this franchise has had, you lose 5 games and the world is about to end. I think on Zach, it's unfair to put all the blame on him when there are 11 guys on the field who are playing their hearts off and he's put us in the right positions. That's where the critiques of Zach or whatever coaches are unfair, because he can't go out there and play for us. So it's up to us to go out there and get the job done." Now, Q, I don't necessarily disagree with the fact that, like, hey, it's on the players to, like, they're the ones that are supposed to execute. Like, they are the ones out there making tackles, interceptions, like turnovers, the whole 9 yards. But I think it was a very poor choice of words for Kyle Hamilton to call his own fan base spoiled. And to me, it's like there's a standard and an expectation right now. I'll be the first to tell you, like, we're 3 weeks into the season. The season is not over, right? There's still a long way to go here. The Ravens have plenty of time to bounce back. But you and I were talking, whether it was you and I or with Sam on the squad show, we said, man, look at this defense. Look at this roster. Look at how good they are. Like, this is the best roster in the league. This is the best defense in the league. And if you want me to just quickly, you look at the stats here, you want me to run off some stats for you. The Ravens right now, they are second to last in total points allowed at 96. They're last in the NFL in total yards given up. Right now, they are the second to worst pass defense in the league in terms of total yards given up. They are the third to worst run defense in the league. They've given up the most rushing touchdowns in the league. They right now are the 25th best in terms of yards per attempt on the ground, 21st in terms of passing yards per attempt. They rank in the bottom 5, bottom 10, at best, bottom half of the league in almost all of these categories. So I don't think necessarily it's being spoiled. It's, to me, there is an expectation of greatness when you have, like, again, like the Browns. If the Browns were losing games, which we know they're probably going to do a lot of that this season, there's no expectation and the sky doesn't fall, because you know that's what the Browns or any of these other bad teams, not just Cleveland, are going to have happen. But when you come into a year with Super Bowl expectations, you know, there are going to be like, hey, this defense isn't performing up to standard and up to expectation. I know injuries have played a factor. I know other things have played a factor, but the bottom line is the defense has not played well. And part of it is on the players. Yes, 100%. But we can't just also sit here and say that Zach Orr has called every single play perfectly for these first 3 weeks. There have been multiple examples, Q, of Zach Orr not making the right decision, of the coaching staff not making the right decision. So, again, I definitely do not think spoiled was the right choice of words here for Kyle Hamilton.
Yeah, you're right. I like how you regurgitated those stats, because what's so scary, it's the ones where it's about the points and the points given up. All those other stats support the reason why those points were given up. I think looking at the 96-yard drive, the 98-yard drive, you look at the coaches, you look at the players, and that's where it's a combination of both. You need to have the right personnel in a game based upon what you're seeing the other team doing. There are adjustments that you make based upon what the other team is doing and what you feel you can or cannot do. You're talking to your players, and those adjustments, you guys are on the same page. You know your players' limitations. That is where coaching comes in. It's the ability to assist the player in being the absolute best they can be. And it's series by series, sometimes play by play. And when the other team has a bead on you, like what we've been seeing in these 1 and 2 games, well, yes, it is about you, Kyle Hamilton, not playing up to your capabilities, and the coaches, yes, not getting the best out of you. That is what is going on when you hear the criticism about Zach Orr and ultimately about John Harbaugh, because John takes all the credit when it comes to the wins and all the things. And again, him and the quarterback are tied when it's wins and losses. So Lamar Jackson gets a lot of the blame, and Lamar Jackson gets a heck of a lot of the credit. And so with that comes the coach and his record, and whether or not you guys are holding up to the standard that is the expectation of this fan base, based upon what we've seen, based upon what us and other analysts have talked about. On paper, you were supposed to be not 1 and 2 at this point. You should be going into this game feeling like you did extremely well against both the Lions and, again, against Buffalo. But unfortunately, we're looking at a 1 and 2 record. You're looking at Josh Allen. You're looking at Patrick Mahomes, and you're looking at, what technically is a mud stomping by the Detroit Lions. You're looking at high-level quarterback play that, unfortunately, you couldn't stop Jared Goff. That's the reality.
I have no problem with Kyle Hamilton sticking up for his coordinator, sticking up for his coaches, saying, hey, we deserve this blame. Like, this is on us. Like, that's what you should be doing. Like, I have no problem with that. But again, we talk about the expectations, and also, like, any player calling like their own fan base spoiled is obviously going to look bad. But it coming from one of the de facto leaders of that defense who just got paid $100 million, I just don't know if the frustration just boiled over for him and that word slipped out and he didn't, like, necessarily mean it that way, but the optics are not good on this. Like 1,000%. Like, it is not good to call your own fan base spoiled because, the expectation of a team, and this is something where when you have the talent that the Ravens have, there's going to be an expectation. And I get that, like, every game for a contender has so much weight to it because truly, like, a win and a loss can be the difference. Like we saw literally last season between you having home field advantage in the divisional round and not. The Ravens lost to the Raiders. They lost to the Browns last year. You win one of those games and you are playing the divisional game at M&T Bank Stadium against the Bills as opposed to going to Orchard Park. And maybe that is the difference that the Ravens needed in that game. So I think it's okay to say, hey, look, everybody has a part to play in this. Obviously, Hamilton is not going to go up there and just say, yeah, like, look at how bad the play calls are. No, he's not going to say that. That's not what he should do. He should, like, the second half of what he said, I thought was great. Like, this is on us. We're the guys that are going out there and executing. The coaches are putting us in the right positions. Like, that is what you should say in that moment as a player. But again, to say like, oh, well, after 5 games, the sky is falling for the fan base. And like, man, it's all the success the franchise has had. Well, yeah, the success is the standard that has already been set. Like, you played on a defense, Q, with that standard on defense. You played with the best, not one of the best defense of all time in that 2000 Ravens team. That standard and that excellence has carried through the years. And even though Lamar Jackson has come in and he has reset the standard on offense for this franchise with the excitement and the prolific plays and the high-powered ability, this team's identity has always been defense throughout the entire franchise's history. And this mindset is just like, man, what's kind of the messaging here? We heard all offseason about how the Ravens wanted to force turnovers and be that 2000 standard. And now the fan base is spoiled. That just seems like contradicting messages to me.
The thing is that when you talk about the 2000 Ravens defense, this is a team in 1999 where, guys were playing. They were playing hard, but you didn't know that this was going to be a special team. Like, this wasn't like, anything historic. They went out there. They worked incredibly hard. But you also had Marvin Lewis. You had Jack Del Rio. You had Donnie Henderson. You had some coaches on that coaching staff that really got the most out of those guys. And so then the following year, it just grew. Like Rex Ryan and company, like on a D-line aspect of things, it was like, all right, here's what we're going to do. Here's how we're going to do it. Go out there and let's put it to practice. Linebacker-wise, here's how we're going to do it. This is the scheme. Here's how we work together. They went out there and they accomplished it. When you look at this squad now, you just don't see that. You don't see the accountability. You don't see the talent coming out. And I'm not sure that the coaching staff is in a position to put in schemes that really they are not working when you try to be this nameless, faceless defense and you can get into a dime or big nickel situation and just think you can just line up and play.
I have no problem with Hamilton's message again in the second half of that answer. And I can understand that, like, man, every game, and especially early on in the season, you still have time to work back from that. But with the talent that they have, and I know the injuries have been a thing, they've missed out on some guys, and I get it. But even, like, for example, with Nnamdi out there, pass rush wasn't really good. Nnamdi being not out there makes it even worse. So a lot of things the defense can work on. Obviously, the offense has been great. And that's the other thing, too, is Lamar's been awesome this season, but the defense is not been the same. And, you want to have both play at the same level right now. Certainly seems like the offense is playing, and especially Lamar, a lot higher level than the defense. Coming up, though, we're diving into what Chris Jones had to say about Lamar Jackson because he had a little bit of a mic drop moment. So stay tuned. A lot coming up on Locked On Ravens. First, this episode is brought to you by Square. Your favorite neighborhood spots run on Square. There are certain businesses that truly make the neighborhood feel like home, whether it's the local sports bar packed on game days, the coffee shop that knows your order by heart, or the corner deli that's been serving community for decades. These are the places that bring people together. When neighborhood businesses thrive, the whole neighborhood thrives. There's a local spot in Baltimore that comes live every Sunday. I mean, be more licks in Fed Hill. Fed Hill is just electric, and everyone, you got team colors. The energy is incredible, and it feels like the entire area is there cheering together. These local spots are what make the neighborhood feel like home, and so many of them run on Square. So Square is a proud partner of more than 4 million neighborhood businesses around the world. You can go to square.com/go/lockedonnfl to learn more. But before you do, support your favorite neighborhood spot. You'll be happy you did. Square. See you in the neighborhood. And the show was brought to you by DoorDash. It's almost the weekend. Time to look back and crown this week's MVP on Who Delivered, powered by DoorDash. Just like you can win every Saturday with DoorDash Streaks, saving more every time you order. These players delivered when it mattered most. Let's break it down. For the Ravens, Mark Andrews delivered in a big way in week number 3. He had 2 touchdowns on the night and got his chemistry with Lamar Jackson back on track. And, when the pressure was on, Mark made some big catches. He came through, no hesitation, no delay. And if you've been watching week after week, this performance was not a fluke. Mark Andrews, he's been that guy. He's been on a streak over the course of his career. And just like Mark Andrews delivered for the Ravens, DoorDash delivers your Saturdays with DoorDash Streaks. You save every Saturday you order. Stack it up all season. You could save up to $250, including $100 in DoorDash credits. Order this Saturday. Keep the streak alive. Fuel your game day only with DoorDash. Terms apply. Promo period through 11/18. Back here, Locked On Ravens, Kevin Oestreicher and Qadry Ismail still diving into Ravens content and covers. Again, we're 5 days a week plus more here on Locked On Ravens. Be sure to hit the like and subscribe button in video form and follow along in audio form for all of that. Tell a friend, tell a family member if they want some Day the Ravens coverage. We have them covered just like we have you covered on Locked On Ravens. But Keel, big week 4 matchup, Chiefs and Ravens. We know the Ravens have had some difficulty beating the Chiefs in recent seasons. We know Arrowhead is a very tough place to play. That is where they will be traveling on Sunday. And Chris Jones was asked about Lamar Jackson. Obviously, Chris Jones, one of the best interior defensive linemen in the league. He generates pass rush all on his own. He's been dominant for years. And he had a bit of a mic drop moment on Lamar Jackson on Thursday where he said, quote, any play in the game, he can change the dynamic of it. Stopping Lamar is one thing. Trying to contain him is another. Over the years, you look how prolific as a passer he's become. I think he should have won MVP last year. I have so much respect for him. In the context that Lamar Jackson has been able to accomplish this season, I want to read off some stats from him because I think it's truly remarkable what he's been able to do over the course of the first 3 games of this year. Right now, through week 3, he's number 1 in passing touchdowns, number 1 in touchdown percentage, number 1 in passer rating, number 1 in yards per attempt, number 1 in adjusted yards per attempt, number 1 in yards per completion. He's tied for first in interception percentage, still has not thrown one of those. We are seeing, again, another historic start to a year, an incredible stretch of games here for Lamar Jackson. And it's crazy that we're here talking about a 1-2 football team right now with Lamar doing what he's doing.
Yeah, it is. And I think in all fairness, you say all those praises, and this isn't necessarily, well, I want to counteract the praises with some criticism. But again, if we're trying to, make sure that we're turning over every leaf, turning over every stone, looking at it all, the past game against Jared Goff when he went head to head, while they put up the 30 points, it was one of those scenarios where the 7 sacks. Some of those sacks were related to him holding on to the football. Some of those sacks were scenarios where he could have taken off and run down the field and gotten big gains. There are times where, it looks like he wants to be in the pocket and just be comfortable in the pocket, and that's that. Whereas I think there are times where he should take off and run. We know his mom last year even was like, hey, I told him he needs to go out there and run more. And sure enough, he listened to her and off he went. The game plan that was implemented, the Lions D coordinator did a fabulous job of containing the run, and then you contain Lamar Jackson. I think Todd Monken needs to help him out by allowing them the opportunity to, if he is going to hold on to the ball, not run, to have an outlet where he can go with the football and not necessarily, hey, I'm trying to strike it down the field, 15 to 22 yards down the field, but rather, oh, okay, everyone is dropped back deep. The spy is on me. Here's my outlet guy. The offensive line has not played well. You look at the way the continuity of the game, as great as Lamar has been, because of the offensive line, they're inactive. I shouldn't say inactive, but their ineffectiveness to be consistent. It has really, I think, put him in a position where he's had to, whether it be forcing it, whether it be some of the rhythm of the offense. Goodness, that's the crazy thing about it, because when you spit out all those stats where he's first in everything, it's deserving. But we're also saying there's more that's left on the table that he could be doing. And fortunate that Brian Branch, whew, man, he stared it down and looked the gift horse in the mouth and couldn't come through with it. So I think ultimately, when it comes to the interceptions, he's been great with the football, but it almost he almost had his first one against the Lions, but thankfully, homeboy had the case of the drops. Bottom line, absolutely, Lamar is deserving of all the praise, but there's still work to be done, and there's a reason why they're 1-2.
Sure, absolutely, and yeah, you're right. Brian Branch, he gifted the Ravens that, but hey, you know what? In the stat sheet, it still counts as a 0, so we're still good to talk about it that way. But you're right, there's always added context to it. So I agree. I think that there's still work to be done on all phases, all sides of the ball for Baltimore right now. Lamar has definitely not been perfect this season, but again, it's just like he's putting up all these numbers, and it's just like, man, this defense just giving up all these points, and the offense sometimes sputters out, and like the coaching staff gets too cute. There's like every little thing that they can hopefully work and improve on. But you mentioned the holding the ball and the whole 9 yards there. Lamar was asked on Wednesday about if he saw opportunities on film to run with the football more, and he said, quote, "No, I didn't look at the film and think I should have ran more times, or I don't think I was holding the ball onto the ball. If anything, I was trying to let the routes develop, but they did a great job with the pass rushing, their stunts and their rush to cover linebackers, diving at my feet, stuff like that. They did a pretty good job. We just got to execute better next time." I want to give the Lions credit. The tackling work that they did on Lamar Jackson in the open field and in one-on-one situations might have been the best I've ever seen in a Lamar Jackson game. You saw them diving at his feet, getting the ankles, open field where Lamar usually jukes a guy. The Lions were not getting faked out. It was a lot of like situations where we routinely see Lamar Jackson make a guy look silly. The Lions really did a solid job of not letting those plays expand into anything bigger. But to you, Q, do you see Lamar Jackson? To me, it looks like, and I'm curious to hear your thoughts. To me, it looks like Lamar Jackson, and for the first time in a long time, doesn't necessarily fully trust the guys that are blocking for him right now, where he's getting a little happy feet. He's dancing a little bit in the pocket. He may be getting a little antsy. Do you kind of sense some disruption? Because we know when Lamar Jackson is at his best, he is sitting down in that pocket, cool, calm, and collected, just delivering strikes, going through his reads. We know Lamar in the pocket. He is incredible there. But do you see some, like, not hesitation, but almost like some nervousness from him when it comes to the offensive line and kind of almost anticipating pressure?
I think that's a fair question. In some instances, yes. It looks like Lamar is trying to get the play to develop and go downfield with the ball. At the same time, in this 3-game sample size, he's gone against some formidable defensive fronts. And because of that, when your offensive line doesn't hold up, it can, no matter who you are as a quarterback, it can cause you to second guess and or speed up. That's why they call it pressure. And that's why the defenses do what they do. I think part of it is coverage sacks. Part of it is coverage pressures. Part of it is just plain old getting to Lamar, and the coverage or the play was open, but he didn't have time. And you had to give credit to the defensive front and scheme. Aiden Hutchinson, Myles Garrett, those are some stud dudes. We saw what obviously the Bills did in the first game and how they were able to get to Lamar. Those breakdowns by the offensive line. It's the glaring weakness, and that is something that needs to be corrected moving forward. Chris Jones is going to be like on speed dial with Miles and Aiden Hutchinson, and all three of them probably going to be on a group text thread and be like, "Yo, so what you think we should do? This is what I think you should do." That is where every week you're facing a stud, and that stud is wreaking havoc along with the rest of his cohorts. They're wreaking havoc on that Ravens offensive line, and it needs to be addressed.
Yeah, like a lot of respect there from Chris Jones. This is not the first time he has praised Lamar Jackson, and he certainly holds him in high regard. And, for that Chiefs team, we know that they have stars on that defense, not just limited to Chris Jones. The Ravens are going to have their hands full with Kansas City on Sunday. And coming up in the final part of the show, we're going to dive into a bit of a preview of that game, talk about the latest on BK and the Ravens injury situation, as well as what the Ravens can do to win this game. So stay tuned. We got plenty coming your way on the show. First, this show is brought to you by Mazda. Mazda crafts cars for those who do more than simply move. Mazda delivers confidence with every ride with more IIHS Top Safety Pick Plus awards than anyone else as of August 2025. From footwork to breathwork, athletes sweat all the details. Mazda brings this same intention to how they craft every model. You can feel Japanese craftsmanship in every detail, from metallic accents to available Napa leather upholstery. You can make everyday drives feel like anything but, from smooth handling to intuitive controls. With all-wheel drive standard in every crossover SUV, you can drive with confidence through almost any season. Like our players, we sweat every detail, because when you make every move count, impossible becomes irrelevant. Mazda, move and be moved. Locked on Ravens, Kevin Oestreicher, Qadry Ismail still here with you talking Ravens football. The Ravens gear up to take it on the road to Arrowhead. They're going to face off against the Chiefs in week number 4. Hugh, the Ravens injury situation right now, we know the defensive line is in a bit of a dire spot. On Wednesday, the entire starting defensive line was not practicing. On Thursday, the Ravens got a bit of good news. Travis Jones was back in the fold, but there was still no Nnamdi Madubuike, still no Isaiah Likely was a limited participant, still no Nnamdi Madubuike, still no Kyle Van Noy, still no Patrick Ricard, still no Ronnie Stanley, which I think is maybe the biggest concern point outside of Madubuike at this point. Broderick Washington also was not available. Isaiah Likely was limited for the second straight day, so I think he's had 7 straight limited practices to this point, maybe 6. He that full practice is going to be really good for him. But Nnamdi Madubuike, Zach Orr talked a bit about his situation, said that he's in good spirits. He was crushed when he was dealing with what he was dealing with last week, and seeing him go through that. And Zach Orr said, hopefully we see him back soon. So at least Travis Jones is back, Q. But if Ronnie Stanley can't go, that presents a whole different set of issues.
It really does. I think that is DEFCON 3 when you talk to Ronnie Stanley. And, we just talked about the offensive line woes and how it's really, as great as Lamar Jackson is playing, how ultimately, because of some of the inconsistencies across the offensive line and some of the D-line talent that they faced, you're seeing where one guy like a Ronnie Stanley go out. Good God. I mean, that's DEFCON 3. And going right on into DEFCON 4, where you're hoping and praying that, he is okay and healthy and ready to go. Broderick Washington is not a young player. Broderick Washington got paid a few seasons back. We've not seen Broderick Washington be that impact player that we were hoping he would kind of turn back into. And so we need a revitalization for Broderick to step up and show that he can be stout against the run. The Chiefs are going to challenge this ball club because they're going to look at the film against the Lions. They know that they have, in their 1 and 2 start, struggled against the run or to establish the run. So this is a great game for them to establish the run, if you will. And if you can't stop the run, or you can't get Patrick Mahomes off the field, and they're going to nickel and dime you to death, and then they're going to create a big play, the Ravens are going to be in trouble on defense.
Yeah, and this run offense for the Chiefs is not particularly outstanding. I mean, right now the Chiefs, the pure sum of their parts is better than the individual ones because they're 14th in the league in terms of yards per attempt, but their running backs, Isaiah Pacheco and Kareem Hunt. Pacheco's averaging 3.7 and Kareem Hunt's averaging 3.5 yards per attempt on the ground. It's more so like, you know, Mahomes has 6.9 yards per attempt on limited action. They have a couple receivers who have taken some plays for like 11 yards, for example. The run offense is something that Kansas City is looking to improve right now. And what I'm looking at, Q, for this game in particular is the conversion rates on defense. Third down conversion rate for the Chiefs on defense, only 35.1%, which is ninth in the league. Their red zone defense is in the top half of the league at 15th. For the Ravens, on the other hand, their third down defense is not good. They're 24th in the league. Their red zone defense is worse. They're 28th. You have to stop the Chiefs, give the ball back to your offense. Don't let those drives spiral on either side of the ball in a negative direction, because we saw, like last week, you mentioned those 98, 96-yard drives. Your defense is getting gassed. Your offense is cold on the sideline. That's a lose-lose for every facet for the Ravens.
What we thought we were going to see was this Ravens defense create pressure on the opposing team's offense. You sign Jair. You're going to have Nate Wiggins a year better. You're going to have Marlon Humphrey, channeling his inner 2000 Dwayne Starks, a.k.a. Turnover guy. And, you're going to have Namdi turn into Rob Burnett and just, destroying interior run offenses and really just crushing Achilles Smith. Yeah, I'm going back on you a couple of decades now. But the point is that you're not seeing it. We're just not seeing it. And what we are seeing is a team that has failed to live up to their own expectations, a coaching staff struggling to find the right combination of talent to stay on the field to stop this bleeding. Again, 96, 98-yard drives, both for scores. It's extremely embarrassing for any defense, let alone the Ravens defense. And again, you're taking that hard look in the mirror as to why your defense has fallen off so terrible. And that's just not what is Ravens football. That's just not it whatsoever.
Yeah, man, what a jam-packed storyline day here. We're recording this on Thursday for Friday, and we got Kyle Hamilton's comments, which again, like, yes, the sky's not falling if you lose 5 games or anything, but I also think just the timing, like you just lost to Detroit and your defense looked physically outmatched. You get dominated, like that timing is probably bad, let alone, again, calling your fan base spoiled. It's not great in the first place. Chris Jones, he's dropping a mic on Lamar Jackson, and we got a bunch of updates as well. So, Q, I appreciate your time. Thank you for joining me and giving your insights and your stories. Be sure, before I get you out of here, tell people where they can find you, what you're working on. You got Missile Training shirt. I see it peeking out. I see the logo. I see it at the bottom there. Tell people what they can find out over there.
Yeah, so it is. It's Missile Training, and you can go to missiletraining.com. That's the website to get some more information. Missiletraining.com. That's where you want to tap into your human movement and sports performance training. Doesn't matter the age. Doesn't matter if you're an athlete or a non-athlete. If you're a person that's looking to improve upon your fitness, if you're a person that is looking to improve upon your skill set as an athlete, strength, speed, and more importantly, durability, missiletraining.com is where it's at. And of course, CBS, WJZ, Purple Pregame. You'll see me each and every week. My guy, Alex Glaze, he and I, along with Grace Grill, we break it down for you before each and every Ravens kickoff. We're over at Jimmy's Famous Tailgate at home games, and you got to come over and check us out and say hello. But also, Locked On Ravens, Kevin Ostriker and I, we're right here all the time talking Ravens, talking the why of why they are doing so great or not so great. We keep it real. We don't sugarcoat it. and we give you all your Ravens content in one place. Of course, the squad show, Sam and Joku. Man, the three of us, we just love talking shop before games, giving you the preview, and of course, that post-game show. We break it all down for you. Lots here on the Locked On Ravens and the Locked On Ravens Squad Show.
Yep, you can catch the squad show Wednesdays at 7:30 as well as right after games. And of course, you can catch the regular Locked On Ravens show here Monday through Friday, 6 a.m. Eastern time. We got bonus episodes, watch alongs, reactions. We got a lot of daily Ravens coverage for you. All the links to Q's work in the description down below. Be sure to check him out and support him. Q, thank you again. And thank you to everybody for watching and listening to Locked On Ravens today. Some big headlines, so maybe some bonus episodes this weekend. We will see. But of course, we'll be live here for the game on Sunday, reacting to every single play. So be sure to hit the like and subscribe button in video form, follow along in auto form, and I'll see you right back here soon on Locked On Ravens.